Are you tired of feeling like your stomach has its own agenda? Like the bloating, gas, or constant trips to the bathroom are running your life? Welcome to the Beyond Bloated podcast, the podcast where we tackle those frustrating gut issues head on, without strict diets or giving up your favorite foods. I'm Carly, a certified gut health coach who's been there, struggling with bloating that made me look 6 months pregnant, gut pain that kept me from enjoying meals, and fatigue so draining it felt impossible to get through the day. Now, I help women like you find freedom from those symptoms and take back control of their lives. Each week, we'll debunk gut health myths, dive into simple, actionable tips, and hear stories from women who've been exactly where you are. It's time to feel confident, energized, and bloat-free. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Beyond Bloated podcast. If this is your first time showing up to the Beyond Bloated podcast, you are in for a treat. I have with me my best friend from university. We met, I was 18, she was 19. We're now in our 30s. So we have been best friends for quite a while. And she has seen my transformation firsthand. So I know on this podcast, I talk a lot about I used to live a terrible lifestyle, partying, eating like garbage food, no sleep schedule, all that stuff. And now I am who I am today. But it's one thing for me to tell you, and it's another thing for my best friend, who we lived together for 4 years, by the way. So she literally saw my lifestyle firsthand, what it was versus what it is now. So I invited her on the podcast, and lucky for me, she said, hell yeah. And so she is with me today. Her name is Nadine, but we're going to call her Deanie because Nadine is not a name we use.
It's very formal for me.
So my best friend, Deanie, thank you for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm basically here as like an eyewitness. I'm testament to your old days.
Yes, and that is exactly what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So I would love for you to kick it off and kind of let everyone know how we met and our dynamic.
Yeah. So we met like first at university because we were in residence together, and the way our residence was set up was like it was like a townhouse. So there was like 4 bedrooms, I think. Yeah, 4, and like a kitchen. Like it was a house, and we weren't in the same room, but we're in the same house. So we move in. I guess I talked to you a little bit like texting beforehand. So we moved in that day. We're downstairs kind of setting up the kitchen and moving in, and I'm doing dishes or whatever. You're behind me, and I said a Step Brothers quote, and you immediately finished it. And it was like, okay, we're good. So immediately, like, I think our friendship started over our love of Will Ferrell, and we have a very similar humor. And then within like a few minutes after that, we were talking about like birthdays, and it turned out like it was more, I was 19, so I was able to buy everyone's alcohol. So I was a hot commodity in residence.
What? We weren't illegal drinking.
But it was like, okay, when's everyone turning 19? When can we go to the bars? So everyone was kind of saying their birthday, and Carly was like May 8th, and I was like, oh, way. I'm not gonna swear too hard, but yeah, we were shocked to find that we had the same birthday, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. So we got into, really, it was like our friendship started with Will Ferrell and having the same birthday, but it really was like rumpus time, and like we were the ridiculous ones with like just pranks and doing ridiculous stuff and acting like kids in the house.
Yeah, we were both in like science fields. So she got her biology degree, I got my math degree, which you think we would spend a lot of time studying. Unfortunately, we had a very similar, I guess,
we had shit work ethic.
We did. Like, now I'll let you know, we graduated, we did very well in school.
Yeah.
However, we just love spending time together.
Yeah.
We bought Will Ferrell masks off Amazon one day, and we just started dressing up as Will Ferrell to scare our other roommate.
Yeah.
We would eat cheesecake every Thursday and play euchre.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a lot of fun.
Also, I like to point out that when I met you, you also didn't drink alcohol. And I would say that I was actually a part of Carly's bad influence in starting some of her unhealthy habits. I introduced Carly to alcohol, so that was my bad. And we were very bad together. Like, I would say you and I were the most focused on that in the household. So like, yeah, it was when I met you, you were already unhealthy. And then I think I actually increased that behavior a bit. So it wasn't good at that time.
Which is hilarious to think because people used to think of me as the bad influence.
Yeah. But when we first met, I was definitely the bad influence when we first met.
Yeah. So actually on that topic, let me know, what was your first impression of me?
Oh my God. So Carly, to give context to this, she was such a picky eater. Like, you would strictly only eat like pizza bagels. You had friggin' toaster strudel for like breakfast.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah, and you'd have like, yeah, so burgers, pizza bagels, chicken nuggets. You like, your favorite thing was like those like friggin', it's like liquid cheese with like, we went to the movie theaters and you have like, yeah, the nacho cheese. It was disgusting.
Purse.
Yeah, like it's literally like, it was. So my first impression of you was like next level. Like, your eating habits were like a 12-year-old boy. And yeah, Carly's, my first impression was like, well, you didn't drink at the time. So like, at the time when I first met you, you were, I don't know, like, you had terrible eating habits, but you're also fairly pure. Like, you weren't really on the party scene yet. And you were incredibly smart. Like, that was right off the hop. You're incredibly smart. So you always just kind of flew by doing bare minimum because you could just pick things up real quick. So like, yeah, my first impression was like really smart, terribly picky eater. I'm going to get this girl to drink alcohol. She'll give me way more fun when she starts drinking alcohol. And yeah, I guess that was like my first impressions. You're also very like blunt and to the point and says it how it is. And I like that. And your humor is very similar to mine. So funny, terrible eating habits, incredibly smart. Yeah, that's basically my first impression.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that kind of sums it up. Honestly, this was when I was 18, by the way.
Yeah,
so
just point it out.
Yeah,
Still a child.
I am still very blunt and straightforward and to the point, and I still have the same sense of humor.
Yes.
But obviously, my habits have changed. I actually don't keep nacho cheese in my purse anymore.
It's so wild.
Yeah, those were the days.
I feel like we also, though, need to point out that, to give context, also, I didn't mention sugar. Like, when we started drinking alcohol, and again, I wanted Carly to drink alcohol, so that was largely my influence. Her trying to find, again, being a picky eater, alcohol that she liked. Because the reason she didn't drink was because she didn't like the taste of it. So I was like, this is my mission, is to find something you'll like. The way we got her to drink alcohol was, and we tried lots of different things, vodka, but she would mix it with blue Kool-Aid. You used to keep blue Kool-Aid in the fridge, not even for alcohol. You would just drink that as a normal drink. Kool-Aid! And then Sunny D. She would get a liter of Sunny D and mix that with vodka, and that was her drink for whenever we went out, would be a liter of Sunny D and vodka.
Yeah, because I can't drink anything carbonated. Mm-hmm. Actually, Deanie can't either.
We both have that weird thing.
We can't burp. So if you're like, oh, Carly's a freak because she can't burp, Deanie can't either. Yeah. It's not just me.
Again, another thing we bonded over.
Yeah, so like when we drink carbonation, it gets trapped in like your chest.
Yeah.
It hurts. So a lot of the coolers and all the like pre-mixed alcohols back then were in cooler form.
Yeah.
And I tried them and it hurt. And I was like, I can't drink this. So I was like, I like Sunny D. Yeah. I like Kool-Aid. Let me dump some vodka in there. Disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think. Like, blue Kool-Aid blows my mind.
That's so bad.
And you make it. I know.
With so much sugar. I would just take a cup of sugar and pour it.
Yeah. You kept it in the fridge. Like, there was always blue Kool-Aid in the fridge for Carly to just drink. Like, that literally blows my mind that you would drink pouches of Kool-Aid.
So thinking back to 18, 19-year-old Carly, if I told you back then, I'm going to become a gut health coach in my future, what would be your reaction?
No, I'm not even kidding, man. Like, I'm going to give context to this, but I would literally be dead. And the reason why is because I would have bet my life that if Carly had to make the changes of like where you're at today, back then, I would have bet my life and I would be dead today. Because honest, Pete, you were the last person. And we used to joke about it. I wrote it in my diary. I said, Carly had a very funny joke today. I wrote in my diary that like way back then we would be like, hey, if there's someone in this planet that if they ever found out, and also keep in mind that like circa like 10, 12 years ago, gluten-free and dairy-free, that was coming out. Like, it was there, but it wasn't as prominent as it is now. So when that was a thing, we used to be like, oh my God, can you imagine if somebody had that? Like, that'd be crazy. And we literally would be like, Carly would just die. There's no way you can make those changes. Like, there's no way you can make the changes that you have made today. So 0 shot. I would not believe that you ever could do what you're doing today. I would have laughed in your face.
I agree. I mean, thinking back to when I was 18, 19, even up until 24, when I actually started to shift my changes or whatever, if you told me, this is what you're gonna be like when you're in your 30s, I would have also laughed in your face. Like, I'm not doing any of that. Like, absolutely not. I would be dead. I can't do that. So yeah, I'm with you. Me and you both. We would have both been dead.
I would have lost all my money. I would bet my life savings and my life on that.
Yeah, so let's play a fun game called Carly's Shitty University Habits.
Oh my god.
So let's rapid fire things that you can think about. Things that I used to do, eat, whatever, back in university. Go.
We drank all the time. So even sleeping, let's go sleeping first. You would go to bed really late, and then Carly would sleep until like 11 o'clock. Like she'd wake up and I would have been having lunch. So she had breakfast when I had lunch.
I thought she was the crazy one. I was like, how are you having lunch at all?
And now I'm here and you like get up in the mornings with me and whatnot. It's crazy. So that eating habits, you only ate like the only vegetable we could get her to eat was cucumbers, and she would douse them in salt, or sometimes the odd carrot sticks, but she had to dip them in ranch. Other than that, there was zero vegetable in your life or like fruit of any kind. Purely just like bread and meats and cheese, and not even real cheese, like liquid cheese.
Nacho cheese.
Yeah, nacho cheese. Like I said, alcohol was a big part of it. Sugar. All your drinks were super sugary because of probably the drinking and the bad eating habits. We also commonly, would get like UTIs and then be on antibiotics like regularly. Just getting sick. Like we would get like...
I was sick all the time in university.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. And like mood too. Like you're pretty like direct and can be not even moody. Just like you can be grumpy on days you don't get a lot of sleep. And now it's way more even keeled. But it was because of the crappy lifestyle. Like you didn't feel good. So then you'd be more grumpy more regularly.
I was way moodier back then.
Yeah.
Like everything would set me off. I was just on edge because, I felt terrible.
But you didn't even know it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I also did zero exercise. Actually.
Oh, yeah.
Deanie and I went to spin class last night.
Yeah.
And I was like, have you ever been to spin class before? And she was like, I used to go in university all the time. And I was like, what? No recollection. We lived together for 4 years. And this girl was regularly going to spin class, and I just like blocked it out because I was like, I don't want any part of that. I'm not doing that.
Also, like Carly could not do I never thought she would ever do any physical exercise because that was not something you had any interest in. When I said she would get a liter of Sunny D and get it for pre-drinking, the grocery store from where we lived was like less than 500 meters away. Like it was crazy. It was very convenient.
Yeah.
We'd go and she'd get like her liter of Sunny D, and she couldn't carry it home 500 meters. She couldn't carry a jug of liquid 500 meters.
I had weak noodle arms.
Yeah, so I had to carry it for her. Like it was, And also, we never, ever, 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 ever thought you would ever read a book. Yeah. And now you read a lot, but that's even another thing. I would have, again, lost my life because I would have bet Carly's never going to read. She's never going to do physical exercise. She's never going to eat healthy. She's never going to quit drinking. Like, all of those things I would have bet. And you've completed drinking tea.
We're drinking tea.
I always want to get her mugs because I saw cute mugs with funny sayings. I was like, that'd be cute for her. And you would never even drink, like, hot drinks. So now this is probably, like, our 5th cup of tea today.
It is crazy to think, like, I don't know. It seems like a past life for me. Because it wasn't that long ago, but it's long enough away that it's like... Yeah. It seems so distant, but at the same time, I do vividly remember a lot of it. It's nuts to think, why did I live that way?
Seriously.
What was wrong with me?
Know.
And how did I survive? And like, I didn't feel good, but I didn't know I didn't feel good. Yeah. I've always been thin. So it's like, there was no red flag waving of like me gaining a lot of weight. So to me, I genuinely did not think I was unhealthy. Looking back, that's actually crazy. But if you would have asked me back then, are you healthy? I would have been like, yeah.
Because you were thin, and so you were like, no.
Deathly
ill. I think it was in your brain, it was measured a lot, and again, because lack of knowledge, it was measured your health as like, no, you're thin and you're doing well. Like you were never big. I mean, you were like you'd eat. One time she ate 2 double cheeseburgers at Harvey's, and just to give context to like how much she eats, like you ate a lot.
I had to prove a point. My mate said that I couldn't do it, and I said yes, I could.
Yeah,
so I had to.
But in general, like you eat a lot, way more than people would even ever anticipate. And I think it was like in our minds, it was like, because you're thin, you're healthy. If you were gaining weight and bigger, like you're always a 00. Like it was like, she's model thin, so you're healthy.
But I was not.
Yeah, opposite.
I was not. So then when the turning point? When did you start noticing, like, Carly's doing some weird stuff? She's changing things.
Yeah, you all of a sudden, like, you just weren't feeling well. And honestly, I don't think we even had an answer for it, but it was weird. Like, I remember you complaining that, like, you were bloated. And also from someone that, like, is not a 00, when you were like, I'm bloated, I was like, oh my God. Like, oh, I got a big belly. And I was like, okay, buddy. So yeah, you started like complaining that you were bloated. You started, saying that you weren't feeling well. Like you would wake up in the night with these night sweats.
Oh God.
That like you had to change your sheets, and like you were getting UTI after UTI after UTI. And like, yeah, so you're on antibiotics all the time. Like something was wrong and we couldn't really identify it. And I just thought you had like some weird bug or like something, but then it went on for a few months, and this was over a summer. And then it was that fall. And I remember you started like really kind of going in your journey. So you're also terrified of needles and blood. So your doctor wanted you to do a blood test, and you were trying to go like the typical like medical route, and it wasn't really going anywhere. So you went to a naturopath. It was like I don't know, like put something on your finger.
Yeah, it was my food sensitivity test. That was the first thing that I did in like the holistic world.
Exactly. And we were going to like my parents' cottage that weekend. So you did this test and you got this list, and it was like all the things you can't eat, and you sent it to me, and I was like, well, what the heck are you eating or doing this weekend? Because again, our plan at that point was like, let's just drink and we're going to eat burgers. And it was like, what are we doing with this? So you were like depressed for like a couple weeks. Oh, yeah. And rightfully so.
I lost my shit when I got that.
Yeah. Especially when it said like no to red wine and white wine, because that time that's all we drank.
I know, I was crying. I was like, I can't have wine anymore.
So you came to the cottage, and I remember just like reading over this list. Like it was just you and I that weekend, and like we were reading it over and over and being like how are you going to do this? And it was, for clarity here, it wasn't just like cut out the bad things either. It was like oranges and clementines and like other healthy foods that were just flagged for me as like, your body's reacting to this. And I took it very literally, because I was feeling so terrible. So I was like, this is my list. This is what I have to do. It was very black and white. And so it just seemed like, where do you start? We're going to cut out all these foods. And that felt very daunting when you, were a picky eater. So like all the foods it was cutting out were like things that the only things you only ate a selective. It was easier to ask Carly what you would eat versus what are the things you can't eat. So when it was like, you can only eat these things, and then those things were cut out, it was like, well, what the heck are we making for you now? It was very daunting. And then from that moment on, that's when I started to see the change, and you started cutting things out. That's the starting point really of your journey. Yeah, I remember that actually crystal clear. Like the day that I went and got that test and I got the results, and I was like bawling in my kitchen because I had all these foods that I loved that I couldn't eat. I remember I went to the naturopath with my food journal, and she looked at it. And of course, that was when I was eating all the shit you just described. And she's like, yeah, you can't eat this. Like a week's worth of food. Yeah. And she's like, you could maybe keep the grapes. I like grapes. And I was like dumbfounded. I was like, I'm going to die. Yeah. How do you eat if you can't eat pogo sticks for lunch? Yeah. What am I supposed to eat? I was like freaking out. And then, I sent you the list. We went over it. And actually, Deanie is a champion best friend, because I took that list to her and she was like, let's work with it. Like a lot of people would be like, you're on your own, bud. Like I'm eating what I'm eating. But Deanie was like, nope, we'll figure it out. So, we would meal plan ahead of time, because we lived far apart when we no longer lived together in university. It was like an hour and then 2 hours because we moved. And then it was like 2.5 hours. So we would spend like weekends together, or we'd go to her cottage for a week or whatever. So we'd spend a lot of time together, and obviously we're eating a lot of meals, and she would accommodate me. Like I would go to her house on the weekend, and she would have like a shelf for me with like gluten, dairy-free food, and she would make me like gluten-free pancakes, and she would eat them too. Like it wasn't, oh, you're weird for eating this food. I'm not gluten-free, so I'm not touching that. She was like, yeah, it's good. Like if this is what we got to do, this is what we got to do. So she didn't make me feel weird or like secluded, because we had other friends that we'd hang out with. Like we do Friends Christmas every year. And so we'd have like a Christmas dinner. And so it was like a matter of, okay, what can Carly eat out of this? So like I'd make stuffing on the side that was like made with gluten-free bread. But we would just put some like chicken broth in it and the seasonings and just like put that in a separate dish. Or like the mashed potatoes, instead of adding like butter and milk to it, we'd add like mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time you could eat that. I don't even think you can eat that now. But like at the time you could eat that. So we try to find ways that was what we were eating, but we try and like twist it so it was something that Craig could eat as well.
Yes, which I very much appreciated because it was obviously a difficult transition for me to do alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people, when they go through this, it's like the social aspect is ruined because it's like, well, I can't go out to eat. I can't go to my friend's dinner. I can't do any of the things that I used to do because I can't eat the food anymore, or I can't drink the alcohol or whatever it is they're doing. So the fact that you accommodated me and you're like, we're going to make it work so that I could still come to all the events and I could still eat and like have fun. I never once felt like I was a burden or the weird one out, or people were judging me because I wasn't eating the bread, like it just was a thing. It's just like, oh, if I eat this, I feel sick. And even all of your friends were supportive too. Like I know them from previous gatherings and whatnot, but I would just, be like, oh yeah. Like I remember I went one time to your house for like a dinner and one of your friends made gluten-free brownies for me. And like, I was the only one at the event with an intolerance. And she was like, yeah, I made these for you because like, I wanted you to have something. And I was like, that's so nice.
Shout out to Cassie.
Yeah, Cassie, if you're listening. Girl, that was like the nicest thing. Like, if you have food sensitivities, you get it. Because it's like, you don't want to feel like a burden or like a weirdo. Or
it means so much when people do that. Like when like my baby shower and Alexa specifically, so Carly had something at my baby shower. And again, the only person with a dietary out of probably like at least 30 people. And she purposely made sure that there was like a dessert there for Carly, like had specially made little bars that you could eat that were, again, with all of your restrictions in it. So
yeah, it is. So I highly encourage, if you are like going through any sort of health journey of your own, you're eliminating foods because they make you sick, not just for the hell of it, but because they actually cause you a problem, like don't be afraid to tell the people that you care about, who you hang out with, like what's going on, because they may surprise you. You may feel like you're a burden and that no one's going to understand, but if the people in your life truly care about you and your well-being, they will do what they got to do to help you. Like from your perspective, what would you say to people who are trying to support others? Like I know you yourself don't have gut issues. So for you, it's like, we're not doing this together to help you feel better, but you were doing it for me. So what advice would you give? Hey everyone, Carly here. If you are tired of feeling bloated and uncomfortable, which I know you are, I have something that can really help. My free ultimate guide to bloat busting. I've been there myself, and I know how frustrating it is to try super restrictive diets and expensive supplements without getting results. If those methods were going to work, they would have worked by now. That's why I created this guide to offer you a different approach. In the ultimate guide to bloat busting, you'll learn techniques to listen to your body and eat with intention, avoiding overeating and choosing foods that truly benefit you, tips for proper hydration to support digestion and reduce bloating, a guide to delicious foods that promote a healthy gut and how to easily incorporate them into your meals, and effective methods to manage stress, which plays a huge role in gut health. These simple, practical strategies can make a big difference in your daily life, helping you feel lighter, more energized, and comfortable in your own skin. Ready to ditch the bloat without strict diets or costly supplements? Download your free copy today at beyondbloated.com/ultimate-guide and start your journey to a bloat-free life. Now, let's get back to it.
Well, first off, like I find it super, like the idea of somebody finding out someone that they care about has some dietary issues. And the thing is also, like, if you have dietary issues and you don't eat the things that, are good for you, you are so unwell or don't feel well. Like, to me, that's really sad when somebody cares about somebody. Like, I love you. And the idea of it being like, I'm going to not give a crap and feed you something that's going to make you feel unwell. To me, that's just like mind blowing. Like, if you care for somebody, you should care about their health. And if these are the things that make them feel good and doesn't make them sick, like, to me, it's like poisoning somebody. I'm like, why the heck would I poison somebody that I really care about and love? So the advice I would give, let them talk about what they're going through and what their journey is, and try to stay up to date on what that is and what's going on. But if, like, example being, if you're coming to my house for a weekend, or even when I came here to visit you, it's tell me, like, let's meal plan ideas. I think people that are very nervous about what they're going to eat and what they're going to have, and there was a lot of fear around food at that time for you, rightfully so. If we do some meal planning, so when you're showing up, like, these are the things that I'm making for you, and like what substitutes, like, I involved you with every meal that we were making, so you knew what was going on, what was happening. I also actively, if Carly was sleeping in or something and I was cooking breakfast, I would purposely, like, keep the ingredients to the side that I use, and I would have you read the boxes, or even when you showed up, I would keep packaging to be like, you read through that and tell me if that works for you or if that's something you can have. So yeah, I think involving them in meal planning and staying up to date with your health journey and knowing what's going on with you and ways I can support you, and ask. Like, sometimes you're a pretty straightforward and blunt person. I mean, I asked you anyways, but you'd also tell me, like, these are the things I need to support me coming over to your house type thing to go through this journey. But I'm sure there's people out there that aren't as direct. So ask them, like, what dietary restrictions do you have? Like, what are ways I can accommodate you? Here are the meals I'm planning. Do those work for you? Are there substitutes you need me to make? Like, it's just common decency, honestly.
Yeah, no, those are great points. I like how you said, like, ask them, because it's true. I often, like, take for granted how straightforward I am about things. Like, I'm like, this is what's up. Help me, please. But not everyone is like me. So I even work with some clients who are more shy, and they're like, they have a hard time telling their needs because they, again, don't want to feel like a burden or, all the feels. So I try to encourage them to, like, speak up, because I'm like,
absolutely.
Again, your people care about you. But if the person asks them, like, hey, you're coming for dinner, what can I make for you that you can eat? Like,
absolutely.
That, for one, is going to make that other person feel great, because it's like, wow, they care. Like, and you don't feel as much like a burden because they asked.
Absolutely.
You're not like, hey, by the way, please don't put bread on my plate.
Totally.
They asked. They said, hey, can you eat bread? Because if not, I'll get you something else.
Yeah, exactly. Or there'd be times where, like, we're making waffles or something, and I'd be like, oh, I was going to use this. You'd be like, I actually have a really great, like, substitute for that I have at my house. I'll bring that. So sometimes you also participate where it'd be like, I have this product that I really like, so I'm going to bring that. So we'd make tacos, and Cam, my husband, and I would use, like, our regular wraps, but you'd bring wraps for that. So you'd show up with items that were part of you. But yeah, I think communication to ask. A lot of people don't want to come as a burden, and they struggle with that. Luckily, you weren't one of those people, but
I'll be a burden.
Yeah. and I love that. But yeah, I'd say, ask, make them feel comfortable.
Yeah. Great advice. And I also want to make it clear that I did not do this overnight. So we've kind of talked about, like, in university, I was a hot mess. And then we talked about, like, when I started my transition. Obviously now my habits are pristine, but this was over 6 years that I made these transitions. So university, what we talked about, I was 18. My gut issues hit at 24. Now I'm 30. So this was, like, a long time coming, and I made little steps one by one. But I want to get a clear picture of what I have literally gone through. So Deanie, would you do me the honors of telling what a day in the life of Carly looked like in university versus today?
Yeah. Go on. It's like, I wouldn't even recognize you. So in university, let's start in the morning. Carly wakes up around 11 o'clock. She goes downstairs. Yeah, she goes downstairs. She has toaster strudel for breakfast.
Lots of icing.
Yeah, pours that icing on that sucker. Eats that. And then you preferred to have classes, like, afternoon. So, like, you'd go to classes.
Sometimes.
So you go to class. Carly would usually get, like, takeout, let's say. Like, so it would be uncommon for you to get, like, Subway. Harvey's is a for sure. So you'd have, like, takeout. You'd pack, like, a granola bar sometimes. They were, like, the chocolate covered, like, it's a chocolate bar. And then she'd come home. She'd have, like, a handful of chips.
Fishy crackers.
That was a go-to for you. And then for dinner, you'd have, like, chicken fingers, whatever. We'd, like, let's say it's a drinking night. We start drinking. You're drinking a liter of Sunny D with vodka. So bad. We'd go hard. We'd stay up late.
Go to pita pit. Or you need a pita.
Yeah, you need a pita.
2 a.m. you need
Still
pita.
really good. You have a pita, you come home. Again, we might even work out like on Thursday nights there. We play euchre and eat a whole cheesecake to ourselves. And then you go to bed like really, really late. And yeah, like that was a typical day for you.
Yeah, there was zero exercise,
no reading or mental.
Didn't read. Didn't take care of myself. I just ate terribly. I was also hungry all day long because I was eating toaster strudels for breakfast.
Yeah,
and
there's like zero protein.
Granola bars. So I always had like a snack on me, but the snack was just another high carb, high sugar food item. So yeah, I was like hungry all day. I was also exhausted, which isn't something you would like feel for me, but like I had to drag myself out of bed at 11 a.m.
And you'd have like 11 hours of sleep and you'd still be like let's say, I'd say your minimum, but like even 9 would be very low for you. I'd say you needed like 10 to 11 hours of sleep.
And I would still be exhausted. And I would like struggle to get out of bed. I'd be like nodding off in my classes.
Super cranky when you got up.
I was
super cranky.
Not a morning. I mean, to be fair, I'm not a morning person still, but not to the point where I'm cranky. It takes me a minute to like warm up in the morning, but I was very moody. So yeah, that was my life back when I was 18 through 23, I would say.
And then I come to visit Carly this weekend and Carly is up at like 7:30 a.m. That is
on a weekend, like we're vacationing.
Yeah, wild to me. So she gets up in the morning. She like has a balanced breakfast. Like we had overnight oats this morning, and she drinks tea and bone broth like this morning, which again, mind blowing. Last night, for example, we go to like a spin class.
So fun,
but also. Carly riding a bike like that. And also every time I come to visit, like the first day, she's like, we're going to go spin class. We're going to bike 25 kilometers. We're going to hike a damn mountain. She's also like, she's not a crazy fitness person, but do way more physical fitness than you ever did before. We had like balanced meals yesterday. We had these like chicken bowls basically with veggies and
so good.
Like when we got home, and then we had like pasta last night, but it was like full of vegetables.
Gluten-free.
Yeah, gluten-free pasta, a like low sugar tomato sauce. Like, yeah, we have way more balanced meals. We're not drinking alcohol. We're drinking herbal teas, and we exercise every day. And Carly's up in the morning and she goes to bed at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we were in bed last night by like 9:30, 10.
Yeah. Like it's such a, literally one extreme to the next extreme. But same person, same humor, same bones through it all, just like your habits are unrecognizable. And
have you noticed that it has impacted me like as a person, I guess, like being around me or anything like that? Like any differences there?
Like, yes, in the sense of like, I feel better. Like I used to say, so when I would go to see Carly, I always said I left feeling way crappier. Like I felt gross because we'd stay up late, but I'm a morning person. So I'd get up. So I had way less sleep. So I would come home exhausted. All we would eat would be like, we would go and eat like these things called score brownies from Trail Jacks. So gross. And it was like a plate. It was like this big of a brownie with like ice cream and whipped cream and chocolate sauce and score bits on top. And like I would eat
after a meal.
Yeah.
Like I would eat like
buffalo chicken wrap with fries, followed by the score brownie. We'd be drinking alcohol the whole time. Yep. We'd go home like late like that. We usually also would go out to like Club 54 and like we go drinking the night before, go to bed. Carly would sleep in. I'd wake up in the morning and like read a book and hang out with her parents before you got up. And I ate crappy food the whole time. So I'd come home feeling gross. Now I'm laughing because this morning I'm terrible for staying hydrated. Like I don't drink water. Like I like tea, but like really I'm a coffee drinker and that's basically all I live on. So when I come to see Carly, I leave exercising, getting more sleep, eating even healthier. Like I don't think I eat super unhealthy, but I eat healthier when I'm around Carly. I've gone pee like 5 times this morning. I go pee like 2-3 times in a day. And it's before noon and I've peed like 5 times. So I'm hydrated, I'm rested, I'm exercising, I'm eating well. So like I leave seeing Carly feeling better. I used to see Carly and I leave being like, I feel like a bag of crap.
It's true. I didn't notice that I was making you feel so terrible because that's how I lived. Yeah. And that's how I felt every single day. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, it's fine. This is what we do, you know? Mm-hmm. But now it's like, I'm the opposite. I'm like the good influence. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I'm making you drink more water and we're going to spin. And you've also told me that you have implemented like some healthier changes in your own home. And Deanie doesn't have gut issues. Deanie is actually a beast. She is invincible. She doesn't have like ailments of any kind. She doesn't get hungover. She can eat whatever she likes. Like, invincible woman. So it's not like she's making any dietary changes or lifestyle changes because she's suffering. It's because she wants to. Am I right?
Yeah. No, I come from a strong Irish line, so we're made for cold winters and living off potatoes. So I can go on very little sleep, very little liquids, very little like diet, and I'm doing okay. But it does feel better when you are incorporating healthier things into your life. So yeah, Carly has, just by us having our journey together, like now, and to give context, I'm married, I have 2 little kids. And so,
and a puppy.
And so we have incorporated things like for tacos, for example, Carly kind of introduced us, like you can have sweet potato tacos. You can do like, we use like ground chicken or turkey now. And we just feel better not having that like ground beef. We have supplements. We take supplements now. Never did that before. We add protein in the morning is a big thing. So I cook my kids like eggs for breakfast every morning type thing, or I'll add in like protein powder into pancakes, like to just make it different. You should just have pancakes, which is literally just sugar and flour.
Yeah. Or you used to grab a toast, and I was infuriated.
Yeah,
you can't live off of toast all day.
Yeah. And we'd like less sugar. We have like no sugar added ketchup, no sugar added bread. Because like I really noticed that sugar, there's something that does impact me, as I find sugar makes me feel gross. Yeah, there's lots of different things that we've incorporated into our daily lives as a family that, yes, it's not, we weren't necessarily suffering. It's not like we are having the same gut issues, but overall just being healthier is just, it's better for you. It makes you feel better. So we have incorporated a lot of things that has naturally come from Carly that I will introduce to my husband, Cam, who knows Carly really well. Like, I mean, obviously we've spent a lot of time together, and I'll bring something new into it. And Cam's like, is this because Carly? What's going on? And then within a little bit of time, he'll literally be like doing it himself. Like he feels better doing it. So Cam will do it. It's just funny because it's always like, I'll add something new in, and Cam's like, is this because of Carly? I'm like, yes, it's because of Carly.
So proud of you guys.
Yeah.
And it's also preventative because everyone has the mentality, oh, that's not going to happen to me. Well, guess what? I thought it wasn't going to happen to me either. Yeah. I thought I was invincible. You know, I've been living this way for my whole life. So if something was going to happen, it would have happened by now.
Well, it's incorporated with like, you had taught to me that like being on antibiotics is really bad for your gut health. And you had said when you were a kid, you had a lot of ear infections, being on antibiotics a lot, and that might have had an impact. So my kids, you know, I think every little kid and any kid, they get sick. They get, you know, my one little guy has like lung issues. So he's freaking has pneumonia every other week for a while. Now we've kind of got him sorted, but that took some time to figure out. And then Casey, my older one, always had, you know, ear infections every once in a blue moon. So they were on antibiotics. Like it's not uncommon for them to be on antibiotics like a couple times in the year type thing. And so Carly has told me about putting them on probiotic drops. And so I've been mixing that in with their food as a preventative. Mm-hmm. I have no reason to think that they won't have good gut health, but if there's a way I can help make sure that that doesn't happen for them, it's an easy thing to do.
Yes, I love that. That makes me so happy. And it's true. I mean, sometimes antibiotics are a necessary evil, you know, like we do obviously need modern medicine. I do think they're highly overprescribed, but that's a different topic for a different day. But like you said, you can still do the probiotics, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want your kids suffering. So antibiotics, necessary evil, but then do the counteraction of the probiotics. So you're rebuilding that microbiome.
Well, we also talk about to add on to things that we've learned with like having little kids. Like Carly has also shown me kind of the world of how much sugar is added in products. And we were just saying yesterday, it is really scary and terrifying as a mother that all of the like really bad things that we're not supposed to eat is like targeted in kids' food. Mm-hmm. And it makes it like in these cute packages that kids like and whatnot, it's targeted to moms. And I just think like, yeah, it really opened my eyes to the things that I'm feeding my kids that are worse than the snacks they have for adults. Like they really target to kids.
Yeah.
And we are shoving really gross stuff down their stomachs when they're little.
Yeah, it's very bad. I encourage all of the moms out there, please read your labels. You can buy your kids packaged snacks, but please read the labels. You don't want the ones with 25 grams of sugar and red 40 dyes in there. I do want to give some takeaways before we end, because as we've discussed, I was a hot mess and now I am not. And it took me a very long time to get here. So I don't want anyone to think I can't do that because I'm a disaster and it's like it's too much work, because I am the most work. Okay. I was the bottom. Like,
I would have been your worst client. Like, you would have been your nightmare client.
I don't know anybody who had worse habits than me. Really.
And challenge anyone that thinks they were worse, please talk to Carly. I would like to hear from those people.
Yeah. So if you're thinking, oh, Carly's healthy, it's easy for her to change her habits or to be healthy, live a healthy lifestyle. No. I was a hot mess. We've talked about it. You must know that by now. But again, I didn't do that overnight. It took me years. It won't take you as long if you have someone who can help guide you there, like myself. I was on my own. I was trying to figure it out myself. It took me years to get there. But that being said, you can start today. So I would start with something small. Like Deanie said, like she has been implementing very small things into her household over weeks. You know, it's not like she did all those things at once. It was one at a time. And same for me. You know, like pick one thing that you know you can change, one thing that's important to you, one thing that you're like, yeah, I could do this and continue to do it and it wouldn't disrupt my whole life. For example, your sleep schedule. You could say, you know, I can get myself in bed by 10:30 every night. Or for food, you know, I can start reading labels and pick the items with less sugar. Or for stress management, you know, I can start doing deep breaths before I go to bed. One thing, pick one thing that's not a big deal, start there, and then make your way up, you know? Once that's a habit and it's kind of like routine, pick a new thing and just keep building. Secondly, you need a reason for why this is important to you. If you're just doing the shit because someone told you to do it, you're not going to do it. For Deanie, her kids are important to her. Her family is important to her. Her own health is important to her. And she knows that, yeah, she doesn't have issues, but she doesn't want them for herself or her family. And she knows she feels better doing these things. That is her reasoning. She wants her kids to grow up healthy, happy, just like herself. For me, I hated feeling like shit every day. I hated that I was exhausted all the time. I wanted energy. I wanted to be able to go out and eat with my friends and family. I wanted to be able to exercise and feel good. Like, I was doing it for myself, not because someone told me you have to stop eating these things. It was a decision that I made from within. Like, I was like, this is not how I'm living. I'm making a change. So think of your own reason why. Why is this important to you? Why do you want to start making changes? And write it down. Like, slap that shit on your fridge so you see it every day. And 3, find yourself a best friend who supports the hell out of you, or a family member, or even coworkers. Like, surround yourself with people who care about you, who support you, who don't make you feel like a burden, who don't make you feel bad about yourself. The people you surround yourself with is extremely important. I don't have time for fake relationships or for negativity. I surround myself with people who genuinely care about me, who lift me up, who make me feel great. We are probably going very long. I don't even know how long we've been talking. But to wrap up, Deanie, I would love to hear from you what my journey has looked like from your perspective and kind of, I guess, what you've taken away from it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it's just, yeah, your journey has made you a healthier, happier person. Like, in general, you're able to, you look better, you feel better, you're doing awesome, all of that. You're also helping other people. Like, and I think that's really important too, to note that it took you 6 years to learn on that because you didn't have someone like yourself who's providing for other people and showing them all the things that you've learned. So you had to be kind of your own resource. And yeah, I think it's really awesome to see how you have turned around. You feel better. You're just happier in general with your life. You're very much a go-getter. Like, Carly has always been the person that, like, if there's something that she sees that she wants to achieve and does, I've always in my brain been like, I knew she'd do it, but I'd be like, oh, like, you're probably going to do that in like a few years type thing. Like, when she was like, I want to move to BC, she told me, and I was like, all right, yeah, like probably like in 5 years, maybe she'll move to BC. What was it, like a year, 2 tops? And you like bought a condo, like saved up, bought a condo on her own and moved to BC. And same thing with, you know, starting Beyond Bloated. It was kind of this ambition or dream. And I thought, you know, 5-10 years she'll do it. Within a year, she's completely made like a business out of it. So she's somebody you want to work with. She's somebody who has taken 6 years to know all of these things and is super educated and passionate about it. super passionate about it. It's her favorite subject. If you work with Carly, she is going to get you on that journey because she wants you to feel better and have gone through a journey in a shorter period of time. And she's a go-getter. Like, she is somebody that is going to help you along that way and going to do everything in her power to help you. So yeah, it's been awesome watching you change over the last 6 years. And it's something that you want to hop on. If you're not sure, if you don't feel like, if you're not feeling well every day, wondering like, oh my gosh, am I going to crap myself here? Or like, what is going to happen? Carly is someone who's gone through everything and can help you with that. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Thank you, Jeannie. Wow, I wasn't expecting that much of a hype up. I appreciate it.
I am your hype girl.
I know. Well, thank you so much for doing this episode with me. I couldn't pass up the opportunity when I knew you were going to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Love you.
Love you too.
Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Did you learn something new and useful today? If the answer is a big, resounding hell yeah, do me a favor. Subscribe to this podcast. Even better, toss a rating in there too. It helps more bloated babes discover this show and lets me keep bringing you this free, gut-loving content every single week. And hey, don't be greedy. Share this episode with your bestie who's always unbuttoning her pants after dinner. She will love you even more for it. Thanks for hanging out with me and showing your gut some love. Keep on putting what you learn into practice and you will be bloat-free in no time. Catch you in the next one. Bye!